collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up this week, the dividing line in Cyprus facilitates human trafficking, according to a new report.
The green line itself makes trafficking worse, and it makes it worse in two ways. First, it makes it harder for the authorities to apprehend and punish the perpetrators. And second, it makes it much harder for the authorities to protect the victims of the crime.
Underprivileged and refugee children will give a concert to mark Universal Children's Rights Day.
At the moment, we have 120 children participating in our program in Nicosia and 45 children in our program in Larnaca. So as a first step, we reach out to people to donate their unused music instruments.
And Cyprus has become an export hub for the surveillance industry. The Prio Cyprus Centre has just issued a report entitled Human Trafficking in Cyprus, the crimes, victims, perpetrators and their connection to the island's frozen conflict. The author is Nasia Hadjigeorgiou and she joins us now. Nasia, where did you approach this report from? Because it's not just talking about the trafficking, is it? It's talking about the frozen conflict in Cyprus.
Yes. The main argument of the report is that there is trafficking happening on both sides of the Green Line, but the Green Line itself makes trafficking worse, and it makes it worse in two ways. First, it makes it harder for the authorities to apprehend and punish the perpetrators, and second, it makes it much harder for the authorities to protect the victims of the crime. So the connections between human trafficking and the frozen conflict are that while human trafficking exists everywhere, the frozen conflict on this island exacerbates it.
And I suppose because it's two sets of authorities, as it were, who are trying to deal with it, and there isn't much cooperation between them, is there?
Yes, that's definitely one of the reasons why we have problems. So if I can go into a few of the details, it is technically possible for the authorities of the Republic of Cyprus and the authorities of the areas that are not under the effective control of the Republic of Cyprus, so the TRNC, to cooperate with each other. These could theoretically happen through a body that has been established by the UN and that has been operating for the last 13, 14 years, since 2009. And the objective of this body, it's called the Joint Communications Room, is to allow for collaboration between the law enforcement bodies of the two sides. It hasn't done it though. So although we do have at least some mechanisms in place that would allow for cooperation between the jure and the de facto authorities, we're not seeing that cooperation materialize in practice.
What can be done, if anything? Were you able to look into possible solutions?
Well, I think the only solution is for cooperation. And as I said, the mechanisms are there, and we have past examples where cooperation between the two police forces has yielded positive results. So it's a matter of one or both, it's not entirely clear, one or both authorities not being interested in collaborating on this particular problem, human trafficking.
Which brings us to our attitudes to foreigners in Cyprus, doesn't it? Is the xenophobia, I dare say, that we see certainly in the south, matched in the north?
Definitely. It's definitely there. So almost 100% of human trafficking victims in both the north and the south are non-Cypriots. And the large numbers of human trafficking victims in the north, which translate in large numbers of asylum applications in the south, makes that xenophobia even worse. If you would like me to explain how the large number of human trafficking victims in the north translates to high numbers of human trafficking victims in the south, I could do that.
Yes, do please, because it must be very difficult if you've been trafficked by these gangs to escape. But it does seem that quite a few people manage it and cross over from the north across the Green Line.
So quite a few manage it in absolute numbers, but I'm not sure whether quite a few manage it compared to how many are actually being trafficked. The number of people who are being trafficked in the TRNC is gigantic. In the last available statistics of the European Commission, which are relatively old, they're from 2017-18, Cyprus ranked as the first country in presumed human trafficking victims. We had 168 presumed human trafficking victims for every million inhabitants. That is almost twice as much as the second highest country. And all of these, or almost all of these people, reach the Republic of Cyprus through the TRNC. So the numbers of human trafficking victims in the TRNC are enormous. And because the TRNC does not have any legal protections or any institutional protections to protect the victims of human trafficking, the only avenue they have is to cross the Green Line and apply for trafficking victim status and for asylum in the Republic of Cyprus. So we might be seeing very high numbers of asylum seekers in the Republic of Cyprus, but they are not as high as the numbers of real human trafficking victims in the TRNC. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. And the second is that, of course, not every person who claims to have been trafficked in the TRNC was actually trafficked. So we have a large number of asylum seekers, and many of them are in fact human trafficking victims, but many of them are also using this fairly convenient story to get asylum in the Republic, often unsuccessfully, which makes it even harder for the real trafficking victims to prove their case.
Are these people being trafficked for sexual purposes or for work purposes? Have you got any breakdown of what is actually behind it and what is the end result for the trafficked people?
Yes. So in the TRNC, there is human trafficking for sexual exploitation purposes and for labor exploitation purposes, both. But sexual exploitation is primarily women, and again, that category of sexual exploitation victims is divided into two. You have women who are exploited in nightclubs of the TRNC. When I say nightclubs, don't imagine the nightclubs that you go dancing. These are basically what we used to have in the Republic, cabarets, where the only thing they do is provide sexual services to their clients. And there the women are primarily European, Russian, Ukrainian, and so on. And then you have sexual exploitation happening in private apartments, and there the victims are African. So you have two different sex exploitation operations happening in parallel in the TRNC. The people who are trafficking them, the victims who are being trafficked, and the clients who are using them are entirely separate. But both are happening in the TRNC. Now, that's sexual exploitation in the TRNC. Labor exploitation in the TRNC involves men who are employed mainly in the construction sector, some in the farming and agricultural sectors. And these are, again, African primarily. These are men, and the same applies for the African women who are exploited in private apartments. These are men and women who are entering the TRNC with student visas.
I was going to ask you about the student visas because there are literally thousands of people on both sides, I think, in Cyprus, who come in as students but never actually attend their educational establishment.
Well, in the TRNC, this is definitely a major problem. So they are coming on student visas. They are told from agents that they will have the opportunity to work and study at the same time. And that does not happen. About 50% of the people who are on student visa are saying that they were lied to when they paid their agents to get them to Cyprus, they genuinely thought that they would be students, but that's impossible. So that's the profile, if you want, of the human trafficking victim in the TRMC. In the Republic of Cyprus, we don't see a lot of sexual exploitation anymore. We used to see it about 10, 12 years ago, but after the cabarets closed down because of a decision of the European Court of Human Rights, that basically the supply of women who were exploited drastically dropped, and the demand also dropped. But we do have a lot of labor exploitation, again, in the construction sector, in the agriculture, and in the farming sector. So the trafficking for labor exploitation purposes on both sides of the Green Line actually looks very similar.
How far have the moves that I know have been made in the past to try and make people in the countries where these people are coming from aware that the agents are lying to them, and that they may say they'll get you a job as a waitress or working in a hotel, and as soon as you land, you're whisked off to a room somewhere where you service men who arrive all day, every day?
Well, I mean, just by looking at the numbers, I would say that the efforts have been unsuccessful. We are having more human trafficking victims than ever.
On both sides?
Lost in translation.
Because I thought that Cyprus, the Republic of Cyprus at least, had, in a sense, cleared this up to some degree.
You're right. The Republic of Cyprus has. The TRMC has not. And because the de facto border is a porous one, essentially the failings of the TRMC are left to the Republic of Cyprus to handle. And the only way it can address this problem is if it starts cooperating with the TRMC.
Which doesn't look like it's going to happen by the sound of your voice.
As I said, technically there is no reason why it shouldn't happen. The two police forces are, to a certain extent, collaborating already. The mechanisms to do that are there, and they are being used for other crimes. They're just not being used for human trafficking.
Which rather reflects, as we said a little while ago, on the fact that most of the victims of these practices come from other countries.
If I can interrupt you for a moment, that might be one explanation. There are potentially others. One could be that the problem is so big that just the authorities are just not particularly willing to touch it. So it might be that they are overwhelmed by the problem, and that's why they're doing nothing to address it. Of course, that's a counterintuitive and then counterproductive way of looking at things, but I also think that plays a factor.
You've obviously put a lot of work into this report, Nasia. So if people listening want to find out more, I think, am I right, that it is available at the PRIO website?
Yes, it is. It's available at the PRIO website. I also have my own personal website that includes another report on human trafficking that we published with the British Institute for International and Comparative Law. So there is a lot of material on my website on human trafficking in Cyprus if you want to visit that.
One last question. I mean, the average person in the street may hear people like us talking about it, but are they aware of what, if anything, they can do to help?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing they need to do is understand, recognize what a human trafficking victim is or looks like. If you have a domestic worker in your home who is not given access to her passport because you took it and is not allowed to leave the house unless you give her permission to leave the house, and is working more than 40 hours a week, which is what your contract provides, then you are trafficking her. And many people don't recognize that themselves are, in fact, might be practicing this. Similarly, if you are going to a prostitute in the TRMC, chances are that she's not there voluntarily, and that she is a human trafficking victim.
So what would you do in that situation?
What can you do?
Yeah. If you're going to meet her for sexual services, you're highly unlikely to then go and report it to the police, are you?
You will surprised. We have cases like that. We have cases of men who started visiting prostitutes only then to realize that they were not there voluntarily, and they themselves drove them to the police. They dropped them off and then they left, but at least they took them to someone who could help them.
So there is a glimmer of hope. Well, we must tell people that your website, I believe, is nasiahagiorgiou.com, and the PRIO website is www.prio.org, and that's where you can read Nasia's report on human trafficking on the island, the crime, victims, perpetrators, and their connection to the island's frozen conflict. Nasia, thanks for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for listening to me.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
The anniversary of the Universal Children's Rights Day is coming up, and the Commissioner for Children's Rights in Cyprus, Thespor Michailidou, is organising an annual event. This time it's going to feature the music of the Systema Cyprus orchestra. Now that is a very special orchestra here in Cyprus that's been going now for several years, I believe. To tell us all about it and what's upcoming at this event, we welcome Communication and Management Officer of Systema Cyprus, Miria Kalli. Miria, thanks for joining us. Tell us first a bit, if you will, about the history of Systema, because it is a very special orchestra, isn't it?
Yes, Systema Cyprus is a socio-musical project which was launched in 2018, and our purpose is to offer free music education to all children and youth in Cyprus with a social approach. And through our program, up until now, more than 200 children have received music education. And our aim is through forming symphonic orchestras to allow children to develop and express themselves through the unifying language of music. And through music, through their work, we want to show the world that all children are equal and all children should have access to their rights. And that is why this concert with the Commissioner for Children's Rights in Cyprus is so important for us. So on the 20th of November, we are performing at our concert called The Sound of Rights to celebrate the Universal Children's Rights Day.
Now, I think I'm right in saying it's going to happen at the Strovolos Municipal Theatre at 6 p.m. But tell us a little bit more about the children who are in this orchestra, because music education is very popular in Cyprus. There seem to be music schools and tutorial centres in every town, on almost every corner. But this is particularly inclusive, isn't it? Systema also welcomes the needy, migrant and refugee children, and so that's another opportunity, I would say, for them to integrate.
That's correct. So our focus is to include children from all backgrounds of Cyprus, including migrants, refugees, and children and young people with less opportunities, to ensure that these groups are respected, recognized, and included in the society. So our main focus is to give these children the opportunity to do that. And the whole concept of our approach comes from the social program called El Sistema, which started in Venezuela many years ago, where children from favelas were given the opportunity to develop through this program, and it offered them the chance to dream of a better future for themselves. And I want to say that our artistic director and maestro, Santiago Osalzadeh, is here with us in Cyprus, all the way from Colombia, Medellin, where he himself was a child that grew up in El Sistema inspired program in his town. So Santiago is now a very talented maestro because of the existence of such a social program. So he's here in Cyprus with us. We are very honored to have him, and he's sharing all of his experiences and talents and skills with us.
Right, what about the instruments? Because musical instruments don't come cheap, do they? Do the children have to provide their own, or do you have, if you like, a pool of instruments? How does that work?
Yeah, so children are given a free music instrument. So we're talking about instruments of a symphonic orchestra, so violins, violas, double basses, flutes, saxophones, percussions. So how we approach this problem, because at the moment we have 120 children participating in our program in Nicosia and 45 children in our program in Larnaca. So as a first step, we reach out to people through specific campaigns to donate their unused music instruments if they have an orchestral instrument. Then the instruments we cannot find from people that are difficult to find. We have sponsors that are very generous and purchase the instruments that we need every single time. Everyone has their own instrument.
Okay, now, can you take any more children? You said there's over 100 in the Nicosia Orchestra. How many can you take?
Yes, so actually this past September, we launched our second orchestra where we welcomed 80 new children who have been on a waiting list for years. So the way our program works, a child cannot join at any given moment in time. They need to join at a specific point when a group starts the lessons. So we've had a lot of children on a waiting list for years until we have the resources, the space, the instruments and the funds to launch a second orchestra. So now we have our beginners that are the new 80 children, and we have our intermediate orchestras, wind in Larnaca and strings in Nicosia, who have been learning music with us since 2018 and 2019 respectively. So right now we can't accept any more children because we recently accepted 80 new children, but it's precious to see this new journey that these 80 new kids are on, and we're so happy to have them with us. It's been a dream to be able to expand our program, and we managed to do it again with the help of people and so many sponsors who came to support us.
It is a wonderful initiative. So it's taking place, we said, on the 20th of November, which is Universal Children's Rights Day. Are all the children going to play at that concert? I mean, the intermediate ones, at least.
Yeah, so we will have all 120 children who belong in our Nicosia nucleo, as we call it, so 45 intermediate and 80 beginners orchestra, all joining the stage with our artistic director, Santiago Salzate. So I think it's going to be a unique concert. There is a way that only El Systema programs are encouraged to do. There is a way to bring a child who's only been learning music for 2 months to come on stage and perform in a concert. The people who bought the ticket, because I have to say our concert was sold out in 4 days. Whoever got a ticket will come to enjoy a unique experience, and I'm sure we will all live with emotions so deep that there is actually hope for the children of the world, and we need to invest in our children because they are the future.
Indeed they are. Can you tell us anything at all about the programme that they'll be playing?
Yes, so our maestro is currently working with the orchestra. So from what I am allowed to say is that we're going to see a lot of pieces from motion pictures. So from what I hear from their rehearsals, there's Harry Potter in there, there's Game of Thrones in there, there's Star Wars in there. There's also, because our maestro is Colombian, so we always have a Latin touch to our concerts. So there will also be pieces from Latin America. So yeah, it's a rich program, and I think it will be super, super fun.
And where can people find out more? You say it's sold out, so they can't actually attend this concert, but if they like what they've just heard and they want to help somehow, where should they go?
We have our website, systemacyprus.com. They can find out about our project, what we do. There's resources, there's links on how they can donate if they wish to support our program. We are very active on social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, but also we have a YouTube channel with a lot of recorded material. We had digital concerts during the pandemic. We recorded a lullaby project with Carnegie Hall, with lullabies written by mothers for their children. There's a lot of content on our YouTube channel at Systema Cyprus. So at least if they're not joining our concert on the 20th, they can catch a glimpse of some of our actions. Our program in Nicosia runs in the middle of Old Nicosia. We are at Apollonos Street. We have orchestra rehearsals every Wednesday and Friday. Whoever wants to come and enjoy rehearsal from, the window, you're most welcome to come.
Oh, spreading the music, what a great idea. That is Miria Kali from Systema Cyprus, which is focusing on improving the development of its members and empowerment of our children, whatever background they come from. Miria, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Rosie.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Also making the headlines in Cyprus this last week has been the visit of the EU Parliament's PEGA committee that is looking into spyware allegations both in Cyprus and in Greece. They concluded that Cyprus has become a centre for the export of surveillance software. In practice, they said, Cyprus is reportedly rather lenient in providing spyware companies with export licences. They also said that companies use tricks to circumvent the rules. The physical hardware is sent to a recipient country without the software loaded onto it, and after that, a license key, in other words the activation software, is sent separately by means of a USB memory stick. They also referred to the Spyvan affair back in 2019 and recalled that the Attorney General had stayed the prosecution against the 3 individuals charged. They said the reasons for the decision not to prosecute are classified, as is the report of the special inquiry that had been commissioned by the previous Attorney General. They concluded that although Cyprus has a robust legal framework for the protection of personal data and privacy, in practice it would seem, they said, that the rules are easy to circumvent and that there are close ties between politics, the security agencies and the surveillance industry. Going on to say, it seems to be the lax application of the rules that makes Cyprus such an attractive place for the trade in spyware. The matter was taken up by the House Legal Affairs Committee on Wednesday, and Aristos Damianou, an AKEL deputy, pointed out that the Spyvan affair ended with a €76,000 fine being imposed by Larnaca Criminal Court on Wispia Systems Limited, a Cyprus-based company selling surveillance systems. He pointed out that Tal Dillian, a former commander in the Israeli intelligence service and Wispia Systems director, is associated with NSO. That's the company that produces the Pegasus software, and also Intellexa, which produces Predator malware. He also said that there were serious police findings regarding Intellexa founder Avram Shahak Avni. The company was accused of setting up an electronic system consisting of Wi-Fi access points capable of intercepting private communications without permission. The court, however, in Larnaca decided to clear the defendant of 49 counts, but he did plead guilty to the other 42. Deputy Attorney General Savas Angelidis, who was answering questions at that committee, said that according to the examination findings, the system operation was limited to automated scanning, random, non-targeted recording and storage of the international mobile subscriber identity of SIM cards and the MAC address number of the incoming electronic devices within system range. He said the court decided to halt the criminal proceedings against the 3 people being prosecuted, provided that Wispia Systems would admit to the charges. So in effect, the companies paid the fine, but the individuals who were being prosecuted got off scot-free. Another question raised by the committee was why the police and other government agencies in Cyprus were buying services and products from the specific companies headed by Avni and Dillian. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.